4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City. Sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Football Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, always streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. And you could always get at me on Instagram or on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I ain't leaving. At Zach Gelb, that's ZACHGELB. We'll have two guests for you today. We will welcome back an oldie but a goodie, right? An old friend, a dear friend, a man that was a mainstay once at this very fine network. Damon Amendolara, DA, is going to be back in the house today at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:20 p.m. Pacific. We'll do some NFL picks with him. And then coming up, scheduled at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. I was texting with him after the game last night. He has found the fountain of youth, and he said that he'll be able to come on the show at some point later today. And I believe we're tentatively scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern. Brandon Graham, Super Bowl hero, Super Bowl legend, and just a wonderful human being of the Philadelphia Eagles is going to stop by in the final hour of the program. All righty. Can I be honest about the game last night? It was terrible. It was a boring, I'm skeptical to say good game, but just because a game is close for a bit doesn't mean it's a good game. But if I'm just being transparent, and I was really excited for this game, I thought the game was just a dud. It was sloppy, it was ugly, and for a while, it was really low scoring. There just wasn't a lot exciting about that football game last night. And I know at the end, the low-hanging fruit for the Eagle fan to snatch onto is really, ha, 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 look at the Giants. Like, I understand why Eagles fans would do that. Let me just say this. I think if you're a Giant fan, you just have to wear the decision on what your organization did. I understand why the Giants allowed Saquon Barkley to walk out of the building, and I think people forget the history of it. The Giants gave him a more than fair offer 2 years ago. And once that deal did not get done, then a deal was never getting done. And I don't think the Giants were wrong this offseason to say, Saquon, go somewhere else. They were not wrong for that because the Giants are going nowhere right now. And why would you overcommit all those resources to a running back? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't devalue the running back because I absolutely love what the Eagles did, and I love what the Ravens did this past offseason. And look where those two teams are at with Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. But I think both can be true. The Giants made the right decision in letting go of Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles and their fans should rub it in Giants fans' faces, even though I can't really fault the Giants for what they did. Like, let's be real. If Saquon Barkley's having 26 carries last night for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 catches for 52 yards with, I don't know, the Buffalo Bills or the Houston Texans, are the Giants getting clowned for that decision? I don't think so. It's because you let him go to a rival. And that's the risk that you run when you allow a really good player to walk out of the building, is that he could go to a rival. And good on Saquon for sticking it to the Giants, but I don't think the Giants are deserving of Micah Parsons dragging them on Twitter last night. And not for nothing, Micah Parsons. It's almost like you just want to be a Philadelphia Eagle, if I'm being real. Because Micah Parsons should not be chattering as much as he does as of late when your football team sucks. All right? And I get it. Everyone's entitled to opinion. Everyone's entitled to have a podcast. Everyone now, I guess, is entitled to have a radio show if you would like. But for Micah Parsons, and I get it, he is tone deaf. He never knows how to read the room properly. You're talking about the Eagles and the Commanders and a performance that Saquon Barkley had, and you're rubbing salt in the wound of the Giants fans. Well, like, dude, your football team stinks right now. You guys blow right now. You guys are missing the playoffs. The Giants were expected to be bad. even though I didn't expect you guys to make the playoffs, a lot of people thought that the Dallas Cowboys were going to find a way to make the postseason this year. You can't even have an opportunity to choke this year because the drama Dallas choking Cowboys may just now be the dreadful Dallas Cowboys because you guys aren't even going to have a position this year where you could choke it up on wild card weekend or in the divisional round weekend. And it'd be another year where you don't get to an NFC championship game or a Super Bowl. But that is like an obvious conversation to have. It's the Saquon this, the Saquon that conversation. And I do feel good for running backs. And all running backs should send a thank you text because no one sends like thank you handwritten notes anymore. But send a thank you text to Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. Because all this talk about devaluing the running back and how the running back is irrelevant. Look at the Eagles at the end of last season. Look at the Ravens at the end of last season. Did you ever think there was going to be a moment where people would be back in on believing that those two teams could go and win the Super Bowl this year? Maybe more so for the Ravens, no, than the Eagles. But the Eagles have been marinated really in us not believing in them because of their head football coach and Nick Sirianni. But you can make the case that Saquon Barkley right now is the most valuable player to the Eagles. And even though Lamar Jackson may win the MVP this year, I can make the case that the most valuable player on the Baltimore Ravens is Derrick Henry. It's at least a conversation. So all running backs should be thanking Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. That's number one. Now, let's get to the actual game. Because there's a decision that was made last night in a boring, sloppy game that there was a moment that that game could get really good, but then it failed. And I just don't get what the Commanders are doing. You know, I was watching the Barstool stream last night a little bit with John Gruden. I thought that was funny. And John Gruden was kind of calling an encounter with the analytics people. Where he was like, oh, you know, sometimes you go upstairs to the analytics and they're like, hey, John, the numbers say you should go for it. And then you go for it, you don't get it. And then John Gruden was like, you look upstairs, you say to the analytics people, hey, bleep you with your numbers, you nerd. But I've always said this. I'm a fan of analytics. I don't live and die by analytics, but I trust my gut. Say what you want, whether you like a football coach or not. Their gut has got them a long way. And there has to be a feel that you need to have when you're a head coach where you need to know when to embrace the numbers and listen to the numbers and then when to ignore the numbers. That was a game where there was not a lot of points scored at this time. It is 12-10 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Commanders' defense had up to that point did a really good job in that game. And there's a little under 8 minutes to go, or right around 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And it's 2nd and 1 at the Eagles 25. The Commanders are down by 2. So they run the ball with Brian Robinson Jr. They get no gain. Then on 3rd and 1, they hand the ball back off again to Robinson. And he is stuffed short. He loses a yard. Zach Bond and Brandon Graham made the play. So then it's 4th and 2. And I thought in the moment, even though Jaden Daniels wasn't perfect in that game, but on that drive, they were moving the ball down the field because of Jaden Daniels with the short passing. So you tell me on 2nd and 1, you want to run it? Okay. 3rd and 1, I would not have minded a quick pass. And then it's like, okay, if it's 4th and 1, you don't really know what's going to happen. But on 4th and 2, Jaden Daniels tried to make garbage into gold, and it was a bad snap, and he gets stuffed, and you end up losing the ball. Now, if you were listening to Al Michaels, which, like, hey, can we get it? Al is a legend, an absolute legend. This is what I'm saying before I'm going to trash an old man. But can someone get him a cup of coffee? Can someone have him paying attention to the game? It was 4th and 2. Al Michaels had the call as if he thought it was 3rd and 2, and there was then going to be the decision to be made on 4th down. He did not know it was 4th down. It was Tom Brady up against the Bears when Brady had an incomplete pass on 4th down, and then he thought he had another down when he was in Tampa Bay. That's what that was last night. And Herb Street, I know you do 10,000 games, but you got to rip that decision to go for it in the moment. And this is my rule of thumb, right? I will not slam a coach if I'm saying in the moment, go for it, and then it doesn't work. I can maybe criticize the play call, but I won't slam them for the decision to go for it if I agree with it in the moment. But when they were lining up for 4th down, I'm like, hey, it's 8 minutes to go. Go get the field goal and go up by 1 and trust your defense. And what happens? They go for it. Then they go to commercial break after they didn't get it. Al Michaels finally realizes that it's a turnover on downs. And you come on back, and what do the Eagles do? They march right down the field very quickly, and they score a touchdown. And they make the extra point. You go from being down 2, where you could have been up by 1 if you made the field goal. You go from being down 2 to then you're down by 9 after that scenario, and now you need 2 scores to come on back. You need a touchdown, and then you need a field goal. So it was like stupid what the Commanders did. That was the dumbest moment from the game. I just couldn't believe it. And I know now everyone's like, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. Why would you go for it there? And quite frankly, the irony is, if we thought there was going to be a critical decision that we were going to be questioning from one of these coaches, it would have been Nick Sirianni doing that. But it wasn't Sirianni. It was Dan Quinn making a stupid decision to go for it. So here's how you walk away from this game. It's tough to feel great about the Eagles. Like, I look at the Commanders, their offense has been getting a little sloppy the last few weeks. Is this Cliff Kingsbury starting off strong, then down the stretch, you're absolutely stagnant and very slow. But I still look at the Commanders. They're 7-4 now. And we said this yesterday. They need to get 3 more wins to probably make the postseason. You got to 10-7, even in a crowded NFC. You should feel good about your chances of going to the postseason. Their remaining games, the Cowboys, who have a backup quarterback now, the Titans, who both their quarterbacks stink, the Saints, I don't care who they start at quarterback. Then you play the Eagles tough, you play the Falcons tough, and then you get the crappy Cowboys again. They should absolutely be able to get 3 or 4 more wins on that schedule. And they should be a 10 or 11 win team, and they should be in the postseason. But you know what? I think it's time that I need to jump back on the Eagles bandwagon. And I'm not going to say that the Eagles are a great team. I'm not going to say that I'm really confident with the Eagles. But it's now week 11. And I know last year I kept on saying, hey, they're 10-1, or they're 8-1, 9-1, 10-1. And look, they haven't even been playing at their best. Imagine what happens when they play at their best. And we never got to see that last year. But at 8-2 right now, you could have some PTSD from last season, and I would understand why you're still skeptical. And I could still think that this coach is going to mess it up in a big spot. But last night was another game in the NFL, and don't just tell me it was on because it was on Thursday Night Football. You see the same stuff on Sunday, you see the same stuff on Mondays. But last night was another sloppy game and a sloppy win for the Philadelphia Eagles. And throughout this entire season, even the Chiefs are undefeated. The Chiefs have had a lot of sloppy victories. Look at the Lions last week. I know the Lions have been blowing a lot of people out, but they had to come on back after getting blown out by the Texans to secure another victory. We have not seen many great teams this year. There may be 2 teams right now that you could call great in football. And it'd probably be the Chiefs and it would probably be the Lions. But outside of that, there's a lot of very good teams and there's a lot of sloppy play. So maybe if you're just really good, and I think the Eagles are really good, I'm not going to call them great, and there's some sloppy games or there's some games where you wipe a lot of sweat off your forehead, but you win, maybe that's good enough this year to win the Super Bowl. Maybe it's not one of those years where you need to be great or elite to go win a Super Bowl. You may have to eventually have a great or elite moment, but the Eagles keep on stacking victories. They have now won 6 in a row. And the rest of their schedule, it gets tricky. You play the Rams, you play the Ravens, easy one against the Panthers, you play the Steelers, you play the Commanders, you play the Cowboys, you play the Giants. So there's 3 definite victories right there. When you look at the Panthers, you look at the Cowboys, and you look at the Giants, I know anything can happen in divisional games. But the Eagles, I think the most encouraging part was their defense last night, because that was a major concern, and their defense looked really good. But ultimately, this season for the Eagles, it's going to come down to 2 people. And Saquon can go win you a game and go put the game out of reach like he did last night. But I really do think it's coming down to the coach and the quarterback. And the coach and the quarterback have not been pretty this year. The coach and the quarterback have not been elite this year. The coach and the quarterback have been questioned this year with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. But ultimately, in the big games, they're going to go as far as the decision-making of Nick Sirianni and the quarterback play and the way that Jalen Hurts diversifies the offense and spreads out the football to A.J. Brown, to Dallas Goedert, to Devontae Smith, to the MVP of this team right now in Saquon Barkley, that's how far they're going to go. And it starts and ends with Sirianni and Hurts. And even though it hasn't been that pretty, and even though they choked it last year down the stretch, they're 8-2. And I look at the NFC, I still think the Lions are the best team. The Packers have fallen off a little bit. Minnesota has fallen off a little bit. We'll see who emerges out of the NFC West. The Falcons, I think, are a team that will win that division in the South, but they're not going to go on to be an NFC title game. And the Eagles showed you last night that they were better than the Commanders. So I look at the NFC. The Lions are the best team. I think the Eagles are the second best. And then the third best is a fascinating conversation. Because a few weeks ago, I probably would have said it was Lions 1, Packers 2 in the NFC. Now I'm saying it's Lions 1, Eagles 2. And until the Niners aren't in the postseason, and I know they suffered a bunch of injuries this year, but now they're getting healthier with McCaffrey back, I'm still going to give the benefit of the doubt to the 49ers. We entered the season saying, hey, the three best teams in the NFC, in whatever order you want, Lions, Eagles, and 49ers. And the Eagles have already crossed off Week 11. The other two teams still have to get through, Week 11. But when you look at that, and you have the Lions going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so that should be a win. That's not a game that you should have to sweat over. And then when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they're going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and that should be a fun game. But a game that they already beat them once. I would think they'd be able to beat them twice, but you never know in division games. But it's looking like, hey, in the NFC, the three best teams, and there could be another team fighting for elbowing room for that third spot. But I would still say right now, it's the Lions, it's the Eagles, and it's the 49ers. So can the Eagles get to the Super Bowl this year? I will even admit, yes, they can, even though I questioned them for a while. And I'm still afraid of the quarterback in a big spot. I'm still afraid of Sirianni in a big spot. But this has been sloppy. The NFL has been sloppy this year. The product's bad because in the offseason or the lead up to the season, they don't let them do anything anymore. And through the first 10, 11 weeks, this has been a bad product. I think college football has been much better than the NFL. And I've said that now for weeks. When you watch college football, I'm more entertained than I am when I watch the NFL, and I love the NFL. But yes, even I will wave the white flag, and I will say I think the Eagles could get to the Super Bowl this year. I'm not saying they will. I'm still betting the Lions, hey. I have the Lions a ticket outright, plus 600 to win the Super Bowl. Go, Lions, go, baby. Unless the Pats end up making a second-half run, and then Drake May is, really shining out. But I'm not anticipating that. I always got to throw the disclaimer when you're talking about your team. But I still think the Lions are the best team. But if you tell me Philly gets there, I would not be shocked anymore. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How far are you willing to go with the Eagles? I'll say the Eagles will get to the NFC title game, and then they'll lose to the Detroit Lions. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. 4 things to watch in college football this weekend when we come on back. But first, football season is in full swing. Take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you could win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users will have their first deposit match up to $1,500. So if you deposit $1,500, they'll give you an extra $1,500 in credit. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections every week of the season. Check in and see what they have this week. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,500 in credit. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest-growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE for up to $1,500 credit match in your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So I was doing my weekly hit today with Mac and Bone on WFNZ, and they had a very nice thing to say about me, which is surprising with those two guys. But they did say, out of all the East Coasters that talk college football, they do think I'm the best at doing so. Their words, not mine. They go, usually a lot of you East Coasters, you think you know college football and you don't. They said, Gelby, you always have great college football takes. So let's try to ruin it right now with 4 things to watch this weekend in college football. I am looking at upset alerts in the Big 12. I do not think we will see an upset between Utah and Colorado. Colorado is an 11-point favorite. You know, can Utah cover the spread? Sure. Do I think Utah's going to win the game outright at 12 p.m. Eastern time? I do not. I don't think this Utah offense is going to be able to keep pace with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and company. I also loved what I saw from Colorado's defense last week, especially when they dug themselves into a 13-0 hole up against Texas Tech with Joey McGuire, and Amari McNeil had a phenomenal game on that defensive line. He was a force to be reckoned with. But I thought that Utah team, they kind of used all their energy after the game bitching about the officials up against BYU, where I wonder how much of a hangover effect that is from last week, where they're still all caught up in their feelings. So I do not anticipate Colorado going down to Utah, but I will identify a fishy, funky, smelly spread that I think it's a sucker bet. And sometimes there's sucker bets where you go up, the upset is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. But if I'm going to put a wager on BYU and Kansas, and it pains me to say this as a proud Jew with the quarterback Jake Retzloff of BYU, I hate to bet against them. But BYU is laying 2.5 points, and they're at home. That spread should not be 2.5 points. Like if you told me, Zach, even after Kansas, coming off a nice victory up against Iowa State, they played Kansas State close, they beat Houston the week prior. If you were to tell me that Kansas is going up against BYU this weekend, what do you think the spread would be? I would think at least BYU laying 4.5, laying 5.5 points up against Kansas. So could this be a failure by the bookmakers and by the people that make this line because they're overrating Kansas after last week? And maybe, potentially, and that's where you get burned. But I think this line is looking at you, it's screaming, and it's saying, hey, lay the 2.5 points with the undefeated BYU. How can undefeated BYU not win this game by at least a field goal up against a 3-6 Lance Leipold Kansas team? I think that's a sucker bet. I would take Kansas on the money line, but I would definitely take the points. I think Kansas, though, they're going to win the game outright. So I do think we'll see one upset this week in the Big 12, and that's Kansas taking down BYU. I do think Colorado will survive up against Utah. All righty. I'm also fascinated to see how we're talking about Brian Kelly after Saturday. Stu, your old pal Brian Kelly, who left the Notre Dame family for the LSU family because he didn't think he could win a national championship at Notre Dame, which I thought he was right for. And you go to LSU, right? 3 national championship coaches since the early 2000s with Nick Saban. You got Les Miles and you got Ed Orgeron, Mr. Go Tigers. But when you look at LSU, their season ended last week. They had 2 losses. They were on life support. And now they're dead. Even though they still have to play, they're dead because Alabama rolled tide, walked into your house. They beat up your football team. They drank your beer. They ate your steak. And they put their feet up on the couch, and they ate some alligator, too, as they went up against LSU. That's what they did. They got the gumbo. They got the alligator. They got the beignets from Cafe Du Monde. They got everything that you wanted. The crawfish, the po' boys. Alabama feasted on LSU. Now, talking about alligators, LSU does play the Gators this week in Florida, and that game is in the Swamp. And the Swamp has not been kind to Florida this year. Florida is 2-4. However, Billy Napier has done enough. I can't say that with a straight face. He hasn't done enough, but he put himself, I guess, in a position where the AD said, hey, I'm probably not going to get a chance to make the next hire, so I'm going to put out a statement that Billy Napier's coming back before we play this really tough stretch of games, so I could kind of save face when we lose all these games. And everyone already knows, even though they don't think Billy Napier should be coming on back, that he will. But you look at this LSU team, a team that had college football playoff aspirations, right? You look historically at Brian Kelly, wherever he goes in year 3, that's when the program really takes off. And now you have a team that just had their season come to an end. So how many guys start thinking about their future? How many guys start tapping out on this season? And could things really get ugly for Brian Kelly and LSU? And dare I say it, he loses this weekend to Florida. Because if they lose to Florida, that's then 3 games in a row. You lose to A&M where your team failed to show up in the second half. You got smacked by Alabama 42-13. Milroe's still running past you. And then you play Florida, Vanderbilt, Florida not a tough team, Vanderbilt a tough team, and Oklahoma. Oh, I don't trust Oklahoma. Like, you should beat Florida and Oklahoma. If Vanderbilt upsets you, I wouldn't be shocked by it. But, Stu, can you see maybe Florida pulling off the upset this week? Because I'm just thinking about it from a kid perspective, a college player perspective. You would think, right, they want to get their frustration out on Florida. they know their season's already over. They know they're not going to a college football playoff, so who cares if you go to some irrelevant bowl game? I'm really curious in this one how ugly it's going to get for Brian Kelly, and you lose this one, it is going to be ugly, and I mean ugly, for your old pal and Brian Kelly.
Yeah, it could snowball a little. I know it looks on paper at Florida, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, like those are, at least this year, 3 winnable games, 3 games they should absolutely win. But you're right. You lose these 2 in a row, and that's tough. That's tough to get these kids motivated. So, I mean, I would still think LSU wins, but it wouldn't shock me if they lost.
I'm also curious this week in what I'm going to call an elimination game, who is going to prevail between Clemson and Pitt. Because whoever loses this game, they're going to be out of the ACC championship race. Right now, Clemson's 6-1 in the ACC. Pitt's 3-2, so they're already kind of on life support. You know, Pitt was rolling. They've lost 2 games. They're 7-2. So both these teams are 7-2 overall, but you really got to look at the conference records where SMU's 5-0, Clemson is 6-1, Miami is 5-1, Louisville's 4-2, just talking about in the conference, and then Pittsburgh is 3-2. I'm going to assume that Clemson is going to win this game, but this is a fascinating game that's not getting a lot of national coverage. People out on Pitt now after their 2 losses. You know, Clemson a few weeks ago up against Louisville, they showed you what they were. They have 2 losses, but they could still win the ACC because Miami did go down last week. And you got SMU, who still only have 1 loss in the season, but no losses in the conference. So we're trying to figure out what the ACC championship's going to go. I don't know who's going to be in it, but the one thing I can tell you, whoever loses this game will not be in it. And then finally, the biggest game of the weekend, the most exciting game on paper on the weekend, is Tennessee at Georgia. And this is a massive statement for Tennessee because the Georgia body right now, it's getting ready to go into the casket. And Tennessee this weekend with Josh Heupel can nail the coffin shut on the Georgia season because a 3-loss Georgia Bulldog team is not going to the college football playoff. However, we don't even know if Tennessee's quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, is going to play. Here's what I know, though. Even if Nico does or does not play, this Tennessee defense is going to keep them in the game. And Carson Beck has been god-awful this year. I have been so out on Carson Beck, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, where I just keep on saying the same thing every week, how people are saying this guy's going to be a top 15 pick in the draft, how people thought at one point he was the best quarterback in this draft. I wanted to see those moments this year. Carson Beck has failed to show us a moment like that this year. You know, what did he do? He had a good second half up against Alabama, and then he threw a pick at the end. Even the Texas game, they didn't win that game because of Carson Beck. That was sloppy play. So this is a huge moment for Kirby Smart. This is a huge moment for Carson Beck. I can't tell you Carson Beck is going to play well. I really wanted to pick Tennessee before the week did start, and I was going to, but then you see the injury with Nico Iamaleava, and I don't even know if he's going to play. You know, the coach says he should be good to go earlier in the week. Then all these reports come out that he's not going to be good to go. There's a lot of gamesmanship coming on right now. And if we ever need a Pete Thamel report, we need it right now. We need to know. I want to know Saturday, at least at the latest, early Saturday morning on College Game Day. I know this game isn't until 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC, but I want to know if Nico is going to be playing or not. And when I saw this line earlier in the week and I saw that Georgia was a 10 or a 9.5 point favorite, it's like, Georgia knew he wasn't going to play. So my gut tells me that he's not going to play, even though there's been some encouraging and still ambiguous reports this week. So I do think Georgia's going to win. But if Georgia loses, good old Rocket Top. Ooh, that's going to be fun. Because Georgia, they have been such a disappointing team this year. But ultimately, I do think Georgia's going to win out, and they're going to make the college football playoffs. So those are some things to watch this weekend. Colorado and BYU potentially on upset alert. I do think BYU is going to go down. Can things get really, really ugly for Brian Kelly at LSU having to go up against Florida? Maybe some of your players checking on out. Will Nico Iamaleava play? And then who is going to get eliminated basically from the ACC championship game, at least contending for the ACC championship game between Pitt and Clemson? It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We got an action-packed show today. Damon Amendolara, DA, is going to stop by for some NFL picks. You will definitely remember that name. and that voice. He'll stop by at 4:20 p.m. Eastern time today, and we're scheduled to be joined by Brandon Graham in the final hour of the show at 5 p.m. Eastern after the Eagles' victory up against the Washington Commanders. But we'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. But first up, standing by with the latest sports flash, here is the Act Man, Ray Chackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive, who's proud to support veterans and small businesses with their annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. The Bills will try to end the Chiefs' perfect season, but will do so without tight end Dalton Kincaid. He is out with a knee injury, while Amari Cooper is listed as questionable. The Bengals' T. Higgins returns against the Chargers after missing 3 games with a hamstring injury. The Cavaliers look to continue the best start in the NBA as they go for their 14th straight at home tonight against the Bulls. The Warriors are coming off back-to-back wins and look for their 10th win of the season against the Grizzlies. Klay Thompson's departure hasn't hurt them so far. Head coach Steve Kerr said they've been much better defensively as a team.
Our defense is better, and I would say, generally speaking, to win clutch games, it's more about defense than offense. Shots are going to go, there may not go. The other night, obviously, Steph just went crazy down the stretch, but it was the fact that we got 4 or 5 straight stops that was the most important thing.
College action, second-ranked Alabama takes on number 13 Purdue in West Lafayette. I'm Rich Acker.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. If you're listening later in the show, we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's listen up to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Before we do so, Stu, we got to talk about an old friend of ours. We talk about a lot of old friends. DA is going to join us at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. I got to give credit to Hot Take Hickey. Because remember before the year we had Tony Gonzalez on and I told him about how Hot Take Hickey used to make fun of him for wearing gloves? Well, I saw that Andrew Whitworth's kid last week actually did this video making fun of Tony Gonzalez, saying, oh, like, big man always likes to wear his mittens. And we have not seen Tony Gonzalez wear gloves this year. Now, last night, I had a friend who was at the game, and she said it was very cold at the game. So I turned on the game, and I was watching on Amazon Prime, and I saw Tony Gonzalez being a man with no gloves. But then I saw anytime his hand wasn't on the microphone, he would put his hand into his jacket pocket. So I think Tony played it off as, oh, I'm not going to get bullied here. I'll wear gloves. And then you have Whitworth's kid making fun of him. We made fun of him. And I love Tony Gonzalez. It was a Hickey thing. But I just brought it to his attention. I was just doing my journalistic duties. You know, I was just having journalistic integrity. And I do believe that Tony Gonzalez right now is a putty cat when it comes to wearing gloves. So how about that win for Hot Take Hickey, Stu? The first win that maybe Hot Take Hickey has had all football season.
I was going to say few and far between, but looks like he got to his head a little.
Yeah, I think he's scared. I want to get Tony Gonzalez back on. Wear the gloves, tough guy. I'm on.
I wish he would have gone to his head before the million touchdowns he scored against my Raiders.
No. You deserve those. Let's get to Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, a confidant of one Tony Gonzalez. He was not impressed by Jalen Hurts last night, this NFL on Prime Video.
I just keep thinking about you saying this Eagles team is going to get to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts tonight because they won. His stats look okay. He's been playing great statistically. It looks good. Passer rating. I walk out of this game with not a ton of confidence there in the way that he's playing right now. Or even with A.J. Brown, it just felt like there was a disconnect there tonight. There was some frustration with A.J. We didn't get the ball to Devontae a lot. To me, it seems like if there's a team that gets out and scores, that's going to rear its ugly head.
I give credit to the Eagles fans because there they are after the game, and I'm pretty sure in that clip Fitzpatrick is talking to Saquon. So everyone's like intently listening. And then you have Ryan Fitzpatrick basically just undressing the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, and all the fans are chanting a word I can't say on the radio, and they were booing him right away in that moment. So I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is wrong. Like, I don't walk away this game like, hey, the impressive part is Sirianni, or the impressive part is Jalen Hurts. I walk away saying I was really impressed by Saquon Barkley at the end. I was really impressed by the Eagles' defense. But even if the Eagles aren't great this year, we don't see a lot of great teams in the NFL, so they could still go to a Super Bowl. But I don't feel as if I was blown away last night, obviously, by the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go to John Gruden, obviously the newest employee of Barstool Sports. I put out a tweet last night that kind of blew up, where they had PFT commenter and then also John Gruden sitting side by side. They look like father and son. And that tweet just went viral on the good old cesspool of Twitter, which a lot of people are still on Twitter and haven't left. But here's John Gruden during that broadcast. He was asked about Drake May or Caleb Williams. What do you like better?
Who do you like more, Drake May or Caleb Williams?
Drake May.
Is that pre-draft or?
Drake May is going to be a superstar. Drake May is going to be everything you're looking for. Five-star, badass. He's a horse, man.
I'm feeling nicey after that. Superstar. Got a superstar quarterback again. I haven't had this feeling in a few years, Stu. I don't even know what to do with myself. It's been a few years. It's been a long time. Here is John Gruden. Was it talking to Nikki Smokes on Barstool? And this was about, hey, Drake May or Tua Tagovailoa?
You were talking to Gruden a minute ago. That was funny, talking about Tua.
Yeah.
You asked him, would you rather have Tua or Drake May?
Yeah, and he said Drake May, which really rubbed me the wrong way. Ooh. Because if they have their quarterback situation figured out 4 or 5 years after Tom Brady, and now the Dolphins are going on, Marino retired in what, 99?
Yeah.
We're going on 25 years, and we still don't have a definite answer at quarterback, that would really piss me off.
So that was Mincy and Nikki Smokes. And Nikki Smokes was talking to Gruden. And I love that Gruden's walking on in and he's like, Big Cat, Drake May, I'm going with El Presidente. He's, Drake May is better than Caleb Williams, your football team. And then, hey, Nikki Smokes, nice to meet you. But I like Drake May over Tua Tagovailoa. All righty, let's get to John Gruden. We'll play one more cut from him. Or actually, maybe play 2 more. This is John Gruden, courtesy of Barstool Sports, how to fix Caleb Williams.
The big thing you do is you have a private meeting with the guys you deem as your leaders. And we're going to get behind this quarterback, and we got to spread that news downstairs and publicly. But we got to make this guy a great player. He is going to be a hell of a player unless we screw it up. This guy's a unique talent. And right now, he needs support, man. And he needs it the most from his coach and the blue-chip leaders that we have on the team. Now, I don't know what kind of leadership they have on this Bear football team. I think they're all searching for an identity, but we better figure it out. This is our guy right here.
Yeah.
You got to get excited about Caleb Williams and keep putting your arm around this guy and challenging him and helping him get through it.
Hey, John, you want that Bears job? Sounds like he wants that Bears job with how passionate he is talking about how to fix Caleb Williams. Let's go to John Gruden, saying he nearly left Monday Night Football. This has been talked about for years. For the Tennessee job. Let's listen.
My wife cheered at Tennessee. I love Tennessee. I was a graduate coach there, and I did talk to the athletic director, and I was very interested in doing it. But at that time, I was having so much fun on Monday Night Football with Mike Tirico, I couldn't take any other job. But to be in the thought process is always exciting, and hell, Tennessee was one that is really close to my heart. I almost did consider pulling a trigger there.
Let me tell you what, man. Rocky Top. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Let me tell you what, man. So there you go. John Gruden talking about almost leaving Monday Night Football for Tennessee. Let's go to Mike Tyson. I've seen this all over the internet. And I didn't realize it at first, and I'm like, what's the big deal? But the person he's talking to is one of the kid reporters. It's a kid. It's a child talking to Mike Tyson. This is Jazzy's World with Jazzy.
What type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. That's just some word everybody grabbed onto. Now it's used every 5 seconds. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about legacy after that? With a big ego, so I'm going to die. I want people to think that I'm this, I'm great. No, we're nothing. We're just dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
Can you really imagine somebody say, I want my legacy to be this way when you're dead? You think somebody really wants to think about you? I want people to think about me when I'm gone. Who the cares about me when I'm gone?
Iron Mike. Now, do you know Hasbulla, Stu? If I showed you a photo of Hasbulla, I think you would know who Hasbulla is. I'm going to try to do this with Stu, which is not always easy because of the fact.
Yeah, based on yesterday's coach guessing.
Well, maybe you look at the YouTube monitor.
Yes, I've seen that like meme or whatever, yes.
How old would you think that person is?
In that picture?
Yeah. Like you think it's a kid, right?
Yes, definitely.
Well, Hasbulla is 22 years old.
Oh.
Mike Tyson once had an interaction with Hasbulla and was picking him up and like giving him kisses on the cheek as if it was a 7 or 8 year old.
I see.
So in that moment, the 22-year-old in Hasbulla, he's treated like an 8-year-old, and then however old this kid is talking to him or talking to her as if she's like, I don't know, give me like a reporter or whoever, Maria Taylor on NBC, right? Like, what the heck? But
yeah,
it's crazy.
It's great. Amazing. It started normally, and then it just went off a cliff, basically.
But not the most awkward thing I've heard today. The most awkward thing I heard today, first off, how do you spell Jeffrey, in your opinion?
Like Jeffrey.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Not Geoffrey.
No.
But Jeffrey Gray is Maggie Gray's brother, and he is a reporter and a writer. He does a lot of work, I guess, covering Mike Tyson. And here was Jeffrey Gray's appearance on Maggie and Perloff earlier this morning.
Yeah, no, Andrew, if I can give you some pro tips here, don't try tickling her. If you want to keep all the seats dry, don't try tickling her.
I think that's an HR violation, though.
Yeah, it's not that Perloff can't tickle me like you used to when we were kids until I wet my we Thank you for that, Jeff. We're not even 2 minutes into the interview.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awkward. I listened to that live. I saw Maggie tweet out that they were having her brother on. I'm like, oh, let's see what Maggie's brother looks like and sounds like, and just see how that's like an interesting interview. And then Perloff right out of the gate, all right, give us some dirt on Maggie. And he goes, go tickle her. And I'm like, what? And Perloff's like, yeah, that's an HR violation. I did not know that when Maggie Gray was younger, her older brother would tickle her to urination. Not tickle to death. Tickle until you pee your pants. That was something. That was really, really, really something when I was listening to that this morning. I didn't have my coffee yet. I woke up, saw the tweet, clicked on the link, and that was the first thing I heard this morning. That was something. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Stu's going to give me a few matchups when we come on back, and I'll tell you the person who's under the most pressure for this upcoming weekend. Damon Amendolara going to also stop by 25 minutes from now for some NFL picks.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program, the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Whole lot to do for the next 2 hours that we have to play on here on the radio with you, as we will have DA coming up 20 minutes from now, as Damon Amendolara will join us now of Mad Dog Sports Radio for some NFL picks with this network for a long, long time, though, before leaving us. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, we should be joined by Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham. So, Stu, maybe we get some NFL music here. I probably should have told you that before we came back from break, but I know Stu works very quickly, even when you throw him something out of nowhere. Say, look at that. Didn't even have to stall for more than 3.5, 4 seconds. But Stu's going to give me the matchup, and I'm going to tell you the individual that I interpret and I think is under the most pressure for this upcoming weekend of games. So, Stu, give me the first matchup.
All right, who's under the most pressure in Packers versus Bears?
It's Matt Eberflus. Now, I don't think there's really a road for Matt Eberflus to come on back next year, but that's me saying that. You almost expect the unexpected with the Chicago Bears, so if we all expect that Matt Eberflus is going to be gone, is there a way that he could be back next year? I guess the Bears are incompetent enough with that is still on the table. Remember the Adam Rank stuff from last week where he's like, I don't even think it matters what happens the rest of the way. His understanding is that Matt Eberflus is going to be back next year. So I guess if you're going to lay into the idea there's still a chance, so you're telling me there's a chance, that Matt Eberflus is going to be back next year, you got to find a way to rally the troops together after you already just fired your offensive coordinator, right? Shane Waldron is out. Everyone's turning against your quarterback, or some veterans are turning against your quarterbacks. Matt Eberflus got to go get a victory this weekend. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Bears are going to win. I think the Bears are going to win going away. I mean, the Packers are going to win going away, but Matt Eberflus is definitely under some pressure.
All right, who is under the most pressure in Colts against the Jets?
Who do you think I'm going to say?
I think you're going to say Anthony Richardson.
You're 100% right, Stu. I think a lot of people, though, would have thought I would have said, like, oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but they're 3-7. They stink. The fat lady was already singing on that football team after they lost to the Patriots. So don't give me this bull crap. Oh, but they beat the Texans. Oh, what they damn do? Who cares if they beat the Texans? That's one lousy game. And then all these Jets fans were like, Jets, 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 season back on. We're going back to the playoffs. And then what happened? He got smacked around out in the desert by Kyler Murray, Mr. Boop, 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 Jonathan Gannon, and the Arizona Cardinals. Anthony Richardson, you have an opportunity to say to Shane Steichen, bleep you messed up. That's your opportunity. Because this coaching staff, say what you want about Anthony Richardson, and I'm not a fan, but this coaching staff, they don't like Anthony Richardson. They don't believe in Anthony Richardson. They went to Joe Flacco for 2 games, told everyone that would listen that Joe Flacco's their guy for the rest of the season, and then after 2 games and 2 losses, up Joe Flacco, go back to the bench, we're putting Anthony Richardson back in. However, it still doesn't mean that Anthony Richardson is their guy moving forward. He's their guy as long as he stays healthy for the rest of the season, and he probably will be their starter next year, but already going to have a coaching staff that doesn't believe in him for next year. But he could send some positive momentum into what's been a bad season for the Colts if he plays well in these final 7 games or whatever there are left. And you could really put that flag in the ground and stake and say, hey, you guys wrote me off. I just needed more of an opportunity. I need to stay healthy, and I'm better than what you think. Well, it starts this weekend because it's not like you're going up against a football team that's all that good. You're going up against a Jet team that is all bark, no bite. Okay? Let's just be real. And let me say this about the Jets. If the Jets win this game, I do not want to hear from Sauce Gardner. I don't want to hear from Quinnen Williams. I don't want to hear from Quincy Williams. I don't want to hear from any of these loudmouths on the New York Jets defense that tell you how great they are. And when they stink, oh, I deleted my social media account. The only reason I went back on to pop off was because someone slid into my DMs or I had to find an old DM. I don't want the Jets taking a bow after 1 victory up against the Colts. I said this after they beat the Texans. You want your flowers? Go get back to 500. Then I'll take you seriously. But there's a lot of pressure on Anthony Richardson in this one. Next game.
All right, who is under the most pressure in the AFC North rivalry of Ravens versus Steelers?
I think this is so split down the middle because I can make the case for Lamar Jackson and then I could just equally make the case for Russell Wilson. I think there's more pressure, though, if I look at one player and one player only in this game. It's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because if the Ravens win, you could still say, yeah, but the Steelers aren't as good as what their record says they are. Or, yeah, but nice the Ravens are playing well in the regular season, but they were the best team in football last year in the regular season, and they had home field advantage. The road to the Super Bowl traveled through Baltimore, and it meant nothing. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a big opponent. You have a great defense. People are still questioning your quarterback, and you can find a way to beat a really good football team, and you could have back-to-back weeks, right, where you beat the Commanders, who are on the rise. You look at the Ravens. They've been, a really good football team, and they're a Super Bowl contender. This could be a moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers to say, yeah, I know we haven't won a playoff game since 2016. I know things haven't been pretty, even though our record always says we are. But we could go string together back-to-back victories against two good football teams in the Commanders and the Ravens. You should start taking us seriously, and you should start putting some more respect on our name. And the questions are about the quarterback and what is Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's been fine, but he hasn't been great. He hasn't been spectacular. I haven't been like, ooh and ah with Russell Wilson. This is a moment up against the Ravens, whose defense is not that good, where Russell Wilson could take advantage of that and make a statement. So give me Russ with the player under the most pressure, the person under the most pressure this week.
All right, what about in the potential AFC Championship matchup of Chiefs and Bills?
So I think you could give me three answers here, Stu. Where do you think I'm going to go on this one? Because I think my answer is going to surprise people.
Okay, I think it could be between Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and Mahomes.
Bingo. Everyone's going to say the pressure's on Josh Allen. Go win the MVP this weekend. The pressure's on Sean McDermott. Go win a big game up against the Chiefs. I can't believe I'm going to say this because this sounds so stupid when I say it, but I'm going to say it. I actually think it's a bad thing if the Buffalo Bills win this week, because you're probably going to see Kansas City again. And I understand this is stupid when I say it. You have defeated the Bills before, or the Chiefs before in the regular season. You haven't been able to defeat them in the postseason. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you get the heartbreaking victory or the heartbreaking defeat out of the way now, and you lose the game by 3 points, or Mahomes just has the ball at the end and he puts them in field goal range and they kick the game-winning field goal. And then maybe it turns out different in the postseason. Now, I get it. You'd rather win the game than lose the game. But I don't think you could beat Kansas City twice in a season. So I actually think the pressure's on Mahomes in this game. Here's why. Because you look at the Chiefs right now, they have a chance to go undefeated. And if you look at Patrick Mahomes up against Tom Brady, well, we know that Brady has more championships, obviously. And Brady also has the trump card of, hey, I have a victory up against you in the AFC Championship game, and I have a victory up against you in the Super Bowl. So in my opinion, for Mahomes to eclipse Brady, he's either going to have to do one of two things. He's going to have to get to 8 rings, because if he just gets to 7, Brady has the 2 tiebreakers right now. And then also, the other thing that could happen is, hey, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I have an undefeated season. Tom Brady, you got close, but you were 18-1. And if the Kansas City Chiefs get through the Buffalo Bills, they would be 10-0. And not only would they be 10-0, they would be 10-0 without Mahomes really playing a great game yet. Like, if I gave you the stats of Mahomes, 2,208 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 9 picks, like, you'd be like, oh, Derek Carr, right? That's who you'd be thinking. And that's Patrick bleeping Mahomes, for crying out loud. So you win this game, not only do you tell Buffalo, hey, you're our you-know-what, but also, we're 10-0. We got a chance to go undefeated, and maybe you have a big performance, and now I'm Patrick Mahomes, and I'm back. And after this one, you got Carolina win, Raiders win, Chargers tough game, Browns win, Texans, okay, probably a win because Stroud hasn't played well up against a great team yet in the, so far this regular season. Pittsburgh, tough game, Broncos, they played close last week and you were still able to defeat them. So there's a genuine road and a realistic road for Mahomes and the Chiefs to go undefeated. I think the pressure is actually, in a bizarre way, on Patrick Mahomes this weekend.
All right, who is under the most pressure in a matchup of 2 AFC playoff hopefuls in the Bengals and Chargers?
The Cincinnati Bengals defense. That's how I'll answer this. Because we've seen that defense be more down than up this year. The Chargers, this is what you know you're going to get. A physical offensive line. Herbert's going to play fine, and they're going to be able to run the football with the way that Jim Harbaugh likes to orchestrate and run his team. The Bengals season, it's crazy at 4-6 that you could say you could still save it with them not showing anything this year and their 4 victories being up against 4 dog crap teams. But it's still salvageable because you could still get back in the race in the AFC. And you could really, when you look at this schedule for the Cincinnati Bengals, they got to win the next 2. For someone to believe in the Bengals this year, they got to win the next 2. And it's not going to be easy because you play the Chargers and you play the Steelers, and you got a bye week sandwich in between. But if they could somehow get to 6-6 and you finish up the season with Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver, and Pittsburgh, you got a chance to still make the playoffs. But you need this one this week. And I know Burrow's going to show up. I know Jamar Chase is going to show up. I think the Chargers will be solid, but this defense is going to tell you everything you need to know. And this defense has just not been good this year. So I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals defense this weekend.
All right, last but not least, who is under the most pressure in Seahawks against the 49ers?
I think it's Geno Smith. Because I think we need to start having a Geno Smith conversation. He's fine. It was a story we loved a few years ago. He still has some good moments, and then he has some moments that are really bad, as we've seen recently, too. The 49ers, they should win this game. They should win this game and should be able to cover the 6.5-point spread. But I look at Seattle, I kind of like their team. I think they have a solid roster with a new head football coach that still has to prove himself. But you got enough pieces. Like usually when a coach is taking over, it's very bare and you're saying, oh, year 1, wash, year 2, improve, year 3, go make the playoffs. This is a team that I think is a quarterback away. That if they had a quarterback, they could still win the division this year. I don't think they will win the division this year. But if they had a little bit more of a solid option at quarterback, that they could go on out there and win this division this year and maybe be the favorite to win this division. Because the Niners have looked problematic. The Rams, just when you get back in, then you're out in the Rams after their loss to the Dolphins. And the Cardinals have been solid. But I look at Geno Smith, and it's like, could you do a lot better? Yes, you could also do a lot worse. But if I'm a young quarterback, I would love to go to Seattle. You know, I know we haven't talked about this yet. You know, it's going to take a lot because the Seahawks are going to still have a good record. Can they move up in the draft and get Cam Ward, or can they go get Shedeur Sanders? You know, I said Dak Prescott. I know he's hurt. But Dak, why'd you sign that contract? Imagine Dak in Seattle. That would be fun with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Kenneth Walker as well. But I do think there's a lot of pressure this week on Geno Smith because even though people got back in on you, it's not like we're all in on you. And people know what your limitations are. You go beat the 49ers, it's like, okay. Not that you're going to expect the Seahawks to go win the division, but you got to go then throw some respect on their name and give a little credit to Geno Smith. All righty. Those are the players, coaches, units, however you want to go about it, that I view under the most pressure for this upcoming weekend out of the games that Stu did identify in the National Football League. We will try to continue our hot streak here. We have been red hot. We have been on fire. When I used to pick games on my next guest show, I was god-awful, terrible, putrid, pathetic. It was my worst year of gambling ever. But now we have a hot streak. And now we are touching the money. And our guest pickers have been sensational this year. They've been 10 times better than myself, and I'm above 500. So we will welcome back an old friend to this network, a mainstay of this network, who's now kicking ass and taking names with Mad Dog Sports Radio. We will welcome in Damon Amendolara, DA, when we come on back on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. But first, football season is in full swing. Take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you could win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You could pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users will have the first deposit match up to $1,500. So if you deposit $1,500, they'll give you an extra $1,500 in credit. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections every week of the season. Check in and see what they have this week. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,500 in credit. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest-growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE for up to $1,500 credit match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code location and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
To infinity and beyond. The mothership is landing right now on the Infinity Sports Network. Now, if you're one of our affiliates, we all know this. You're like, oh, DA's coming on back for an appearance. But he was only here for CBS Sports Radio. So making his debut now on the Infinity Sports Network, a mainstay of the name of our old network, but it's still pretty much the same network. That's makes a lot of sense. It's DA, Damon Amendolara, who I did spend last weekend with, having a few beers and having a good time at Bob's Bar. DA, what's happening?
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, I guess the embargo is over. It's expired now that it's Infinity. So I feel good. It's refreshing around here. I see a fresh coat of paint on the walls. I see that Samter has cleaned up all of his lunch wrappers. So this it's nice. It's impressive around here at Infinity.
Well, you left. The budget went up so they could afford to paint the walls around here. And we'll see if the embargo is actually off because, there's a chance I get a note from management on a Friday that this was my last day at the Infinity Sports Network since I brought
Yeah, this is what we call the infamous news dump here. Get DA on a Friday at 5 o'clock on the show so that nobody notices within the company because they're all home for the weekend.
Yeah, so let's just do this before we get to the picks. I can't have you on, and I was told by you at a very young age to just play the hits. I got to get your reaction to this tweet. A guy that you know by the name of Sean Marash. They made him change his name, so he's no longer Mraz. He's now Marash. I see there is a lot of rubbish and clowns in my timeline this morning. Again, desperately trying to dunk on the Giants for Saquon. I guess we forget Saquon being injured and missing multiple games every year. It's good business to pay that player at that position. Come on now. What do you make of Mraz up against the Philadelphia Eagles fans?
Well, nothing could be more perfect than my return to the network, beginning with what did Mraz say and how should we respond to this?
At least he didn't poop his pants this time.
How did he troll the audience? Look, in this case, I'm actually on Mraz's side. I mean, the optics are clearly awful for the Giants because we had the cameras inside of their offices in the offseason. So Hard Knocks caught John Mara saying, don't let him go to the Eagles. We see the awkward conversation between Joe Shane and Saquon Barkley. We now have the Eagles' best offensive weapon by far is Saquon. He's had like 5 different eyes bugging out plays this season. And on national TV last night, he put the game away with 2 touchdowns. So all of that makes it seem as the Giants are 2-8. It's a massive mistake, but it's not. It's not a mistake because Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants takes them from a 2-win team to a 3-win team. Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants takes them from a non-playoff contender with $25 million a season allocated to a running back to a non-playoff team with all of that money not allocated to a running back. So it was the right football decision because the Giants have a million other needs that don't include running back, and they actually have a very cheap alternative who's younger in Tyrone Tracy now that they found in the draft. So even though it's an easy A plus B equals C, Saquon's been great for the Eagles, but it was the right decision to let him walk. It's just unfortunate he walked inside the division.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, with all that being said, I totally get it from the Eagle fan perspective, just rubbing the salt in the wound of the Giant fan and really ruffling a few feathers there.
There is no nuance or context needed when you get to flex on your rival. And Giants fans would do the same exact thing if the roles were reversed. So I understand why it's happening. And fans aren't, they're not anchored to having all of the nuance and context if it's just rivalry hate and they like taking a victory dance. I understand why Eagles fans are doing it. Eagles fans can celebrate all they want that he's theirs now and that it broke their way. But Giants fans should not be angry at Giants ownership or the front office for letting this happen. It was the smart football decision.
DA Damon Amendolara here with us. You can listen to him now on Mad Dog Sports Radio in the morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time with Mike Babchek. What was Babs' response to finding out everybody at Bob's Bar and that whole scene? It seems like, hey, we knew Babs wasn't going to be a fish out of water in that location, but it seems like everything went well last weekend.
Yes, my cohort in the mornings on Sirius XM is a tried and true degenerate like most of us. So he shows up at an outdoor bar in a backyard where they're serving beer and shots and ringing bells and playing music, and they've got the Red Zone on and multiple TVs and Sunday Ticket, and he goes, "These are my people." On top of that, there are a pair of Jets fans that were there. I believe they were both in-laws of of Mraz. Maybe one was and one wasn't, but one is wearing a Boomer Esiason jersey from 1997. Not a Mitchell and Ness Boomer Esiason Jets jersey from 97, but an actual Boomer Esiason Jets jersey from 97. And the other one is wearing an authentic Elijah Vera Tucker jersey. That would be an offensive lineman. That's an authentic, again, and that's being worn unironically. So when Babs saw this, he was like, wow, these guys are even more serious as a Jets fan than I am, and I thought I was serious. So it was a great eye-opening experience, and that's the intensity and the passion that we love at Bob's Bar. That's why it's our home away from home.
Yeah, but the Babs didn't realize, because when he found the Elijah Vera Tucker jersey, he's like, where did you get that off the clearance rack? Like, he just cracked a joke, and I kind of whispered in his ear, I'm like, hey, Babs, because I worked at Sirius for a quick sip of coffee, I'm like, hey, that's Mraz's like brother-in-law, just so you know. Yeah. And he was just talking to him as if he was just some listener that Babs didn't really care about.
Which is actually okay, because most of those guys at Bob's Bar have, they have no airs. You can elbow with them and do that type of stuff. The problem was that Babs thought it was a joke that he was wearing that jersey, and he stared daggers through him. Was like, why? This is not a joke. Why would this be a joke? He's a very good player. That's the type of Jets fan we are talking about, wearing the unnamed, unknown offensive lineman authentic jersey unironically because he's a good player. We need to support the offensive line. You got it, dude. Don't cross that guy.
I'm cracking up right now because I just heard an expletive that was uttered in the newsroom, and then I saw a man who has lost some weight waddle into the room. Marash is on the other side, and he's looking at me. And he looks disgusted at me right now that I have you on the show. Everything's good with you guys, right?
Yeah, everything's great. You tried to bait DA into taking a shot at me, taking a shot at Eagle fans, and he didn't fall for it because he's a good man.
I was just asking him a question.
Yeah, okay. I know you're doing. You're trying to get him to turn on me. Luckily you didn't.
I ask tough questions. I don't sit there like when the Giants owner was there, John Mara, and be like, hey, some people may say. I asked him a tough question. I thought it was a good question.
Look, I have to get back. I was going to tell you, it's Mr. Mara, okay?
Oh, sorry.
Do not call him John if you don't know him.
Your lips don't need to be all over him these days with the state of your football team, okay?
All right, get lost. Let DA kill you in picks here and have a good show.
You got it. See, DA, some things may change, but other things always say the same. Even when he doesn't need to be the story, Marash always makes himself the story. Listen to this.
Isn't he on the air right now? Why is he just wandering through the hallways, popping into different studios?
He thinks he's Francesa now. He yells at people for eating their egg roll. He just walks in on other people's show and goes, who cares about you on this national radio show? I'm the big host here. I'm the big wig, and I could just interrupt. Like, imagine if I walked into their studio right now and was basically staring down the host as he's doing an interview and then interrupt the whole extravaganza. I would be suspended probably. Look at the ego of him. Look what you created here.
I think about that often. I'm oftentimes tormented, much like Oppenheimer, staring at the devastation of my own creation.
All right, I will get to picks in just a second. I got one more thing to ask you because I thought you had a great tweet today. Expand a little bit on your boxing tweet from earlier because, right, I'm only 30 years old, so I wasn't around when Tyson was really going at it, and now you have this Tyson-Jake Paul fight tonight, and it seems like boxing is relevant tonight, but we know it's been irrelevant for a long time.
Yeah, my tweet just was suggesting that this is such a prime example of how boxing killed itself because we are desperate for the Tyson vibe again, even though we're grasping at straws. I think most of us, including myself, will watch tonight. We have to watch tonight, knowing we'll be disappointed. I think most of the audience knows they will be disappointed, but we are holding on to something magical that used to be, which was watching Mike Tyson fights. And the reason that we're so desperate for it is because there's been a void for 30 years. Nobody has made us feel like that. Now, I wasn't alive for Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, those fights. I was very young in the 80s with Hagler and Hearns and Leonard. But really, Tyson remains the last I gotta see it boxer. And because there's been 30 years of nothingness, something like this, which is largely a joke, he's almost 60, he's fighting a YouTube boxer, and it's on Netflix, still feels big because it's him. And I was just thinking to myself today, if Patrick Mahomes wanted to play an exhibition football game at 57 years old, I'm not sure there would be a huge appetite for it. But because we've had nothingness in boxing for so long, corruption, disorganization, dysfunction ruined the sport. We were left with nothing for 3 decades, and this provides a flicker. And so it is just the bells going off of like, wow, man, boxing really killed itself. This is how desperate we are. We're watching 57-year-old Mike Tyson on a Friday night boxing a YouTube guy, and we're into it.
Now, I actually think Jake Paul is going to win the fight, but when I look at it and just, have a conversation about what you had to say, DA, for my generation, really the only time boxing there was a buzz around it was Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, which were some great fights. Mayweather and Pacquiao, when they actually fought, it was way too late. And, hey, that McGregor fight up against Mayweather also turned out to be better than what people thought. But you're right, the state of the sport is an absolute joke right now.
And if you asked my dad, who's a sports fan, but not a diehard boxing fan, who Tyson Fury is, he'd have no idea.
Yeah.
If I asked him who Deontay Wilder is, he'd have no idea. If I asked him who Conor McGregor is, he'd probably know, but there's no way he would watch a Conor McGregor boxing match.
Sure.
He'd have no interest in that. So it shows you that we've had 30 years of a total dearth of move-the-needle guys.
All righty, let's fire up the music. We'll quickly get to picks. DA here with us on the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, I'm 11-4 in the last 5 weeks. That brings me to 17-13 on the season. However, DA, though, our guest pickers, not to put any pressure on you, they are 20-10 this year. Our guest pickers have been sensational. You're on our turf today, so I'll give you the first pick. What do you got?
Gelb, where were you with this 11-4 run when you made picks for me? I mean,
I'll tell you this. That was my worst season ever. I actually think I'm like a young quarterback that was just thrown to the wolves a little bit too early.
Is that right?
And I've had a redemption moment later on in my life. I'm Geno Smith. People wrote me off. I didn't write back, but now I'm here.
Yeah, you're Sam Darnold of NFL picks. Very good. I'm
No,
going to start with Sunday Night Football, and that is Bengals and Chargers. The Chargers have the best recipe for covering spreads, which is play airtight defense, run the football, don't turn the football over. Justin Herbert has been absolutely fantastic and not throwing an interception. He hasn't done so in like 2 months. The Bengals are on the road. I don't trust them anywhere, but specifically with that defense against an offense that, while it might struggle at times to score points, doesn't turn the football over. It's a number about 1.5. Basically, I've got it at a pick 'em. I mean, so I got to get the Chargers to win by 2 points. I think they win easily by 2. I think that this is a full possession type win, a 4 to 7 point win, 7 to 10 point win, even if things don't break the way of the Bengals. A couple of possessions. So give me the Chargers laying 1.5. I'm not worried about that 1.5 on Sunday Night Football.
All righty, so DA takes the Chargers laying 1.5. For my first pick, I will go with the favorite as well. Let me say this team's name correctly. I will take the Vikings laying 6.5 against the Tennessee Titans. Was that good enough for you on the enunciation?
Not only good enough, but that is my pick number 2. I agree with you. I think that the Vikings go to Nashville here to win this game easily. 6 is a healthy number. I've even seen it move to 6.5 some places, but I'm not necessarily all that worried. Titan season's been over for a while, and I think that the Vikings are going to be one of those playoff teams that win a bunch of games against bad teams, and we still don't know whether they're good or not come January. I know that they squeaked by the Jaguars last week. This is another AFC South team on the road. But the Titans are so over. It is so done. You'll see plenty of skull in the building. A lot of Vikings fans, for sure, will make the trip to Nash Vegas for a weekend in November. So I expect a good turnout by the Vikings fans, making it feel a little bit more like a home game. I think the Vikings win this game easily by 7 or more going away. So give me the Vikings laying the 6 as well.
All righty, so we're both on the Vikings laying 6.5. I'll continue the 6.5 point trend. I will take the San Francisco 49ers up against the Seattle Seahawks. The first time these two teams played, the Niners were able to cover this spread. If it was this matchup basically just repeated, I don't trust Geno Smith. I think the 49ers are getting healthier. I like them to win the game by a touchdown. So give me the 49ers laying 6.5 points. And your final pick here, DA.
All right, anytime you get Patrick Mahomes to the points, you take them. I've made some money over the years doing this exact thing. It pains me to say this because I would love to see the Bills be able to win this football game and then really feel like in January they had solved the Chiefs. Now, they're 3-0 in the regular season, and they haven't been able to replicate that in January, so they could lose this game, and it might mean the opposite. Maybe that's why they would win the game in January. But I do think that anytime you see Mahomes plus points, you have to take him or you're an idiot. He's 11-3 all-time as an underdog, winning the football game. He's 12-1-1, getting points in a football game against the number. So I'd be an idiot not to do it. Give me the Chiefs plus the 2.
And then my final pick, I will go with a road dog. I like the Falcons on the road. I think they win this game outright, and I'm getting 2 points. So give me Atlanta with Kirk Cousins finding a way to squeak past the Denver Broncos. So my picks this week, Falcons plus 2, Niners laying 6.5, Vikings laying 6.5, and DA goes with the Chargers laying 1.5, the Chiefs plus 2, and the Vikings laying 6.5 points. Before we let you run, DA, tell everybody about Watch DA and how they can find you on YouTube, obviously.
Yeah, for those that don't have SiriusXM, for those that used to listen to me on CBS/Infinity and want to find me now, how about Watch DA Live on YouTube? Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, we react to everything around the NFL day, which means we'll be coming on right during the fourth quarter of Chiefs and Bills, and as it goes final, we'll react in real time. We've had great guests throughout the football season. I've had my friend Bart Scott join me. Nick Wright has joined me. We've had Golden Tate stop on by. We've had Ian Rappaport, Diana Rossini, great NFL insiders, and that'll continue this week. So check it out. It's free. Go to YouTube, search my name, watch DA Live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
All righty, that is Damon Amendolara. DA, can't thank you enough. Obviously, you've helped me out throughout my career, but really, this network, you were such a mainstay at it for so many years here since the inception. And what I always say about DA is you brought in a national landscape, which is tough to do, a local feel to national radio, and we can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the kind words. Great to hear from Stu and Samter behind the scenes as well. Good to see all you guys thriving. Love it. And this fresh paint of the walls, thankfully it's not lead-based. Nice job. We'll talk again, man. Hey, and good to see you at Bob's Bar. Thanks for showing up, brother.
Yeah,
nice
100%. Anytime. There he is, DA, Damon Amendolara, right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. We'll do a little onside, offside next. Update time first. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Bengals get a boost this weekend with wide receiver T. Higgins expected to play against the Chargers after missing the last 3 with a hamstring injury, while the Bills' Dalton Kincaid is out with a knee injury. Another tight end, the Lions' Sam Laporta, will miss this weekend's matchup against the Jaguars due to an injured shoulder. And Seahawks center Connor Williams, at the age of 27, has announced his retirement. The Cavaliers continue to roll 13 straight to open the season, entering tonight's matchup against the Bulls. A great start under new coach Kenny Atkinson, and while this team still has something to prove down the road, Darius Garland certainly notices a difference thus far.
Sticking together, just taking it game by game. We know we got a target on our back, so we just got to come in with that aggressiveness and that confidence that we're going to win every game, and that's what we've been doing, even though, like you said, long nights, not a lot of sleep, but just got to stay together and just continue just to be great. That's what we're trying to do.
Out west, the Thunder lead the conference at 10-2 and host the Suns, who are a game back, and the Warriors a half game behind OKC. Look for their 10th win against the Grizzlies. College action tonight, second-ranked Alabama on the road to face number 13 Purdue in West Lafayette. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty. Time for a little onside, offside. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. A very busy Football Friday edition of the Extravaganza. Should have Brandon Graham for you coming up in the 5 p.m. Eastern Time hour. But Stu, you got some questions? I'll try to give you some answers. What do we got cooking here?
Oh, right. The Steelers have won 4 straight, and all 3 of Russell Wilson's start since replacing Justin Fields. However, Pittsburgh offensive coordinator Arthur Smith revealed yesterday that Fields may see the field soon, saying, quote, We have a package every week. It goes back to the flow of the game. It will be ready when we need it. Maybe this Sunday, maybe next Sunday, end of quote. So onside, offsides, it would be a mistake to sub Wilson in and out for Fields for special packages.
Offside, and here is why. I am done criticizing the Steelers for how they've handled this quarterback situation. Because it would be disingenuous of me when I said, hey, I wanted to see Justin Fields continue to start. I didn't think he should have been sat down. Then they sat him down and they've still been good, to say, hey, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have a great situation at quarterback, but they are producing wins as if they are a great team. So let Mike Tomlin, let Arthur Smith handle this quarterback situation however they want, because it's going to work in the regular season. So if they want to put Fields in for a few scenarios, I'm good with that. So you said it would be a mistake to sub Wilson in and out for Fields with special packages. You know, I'm not saying this is Chris Leak and Tim Tebow for crying out loud, but I'm okay with it, so I would go offside.
Offside!
The Chiefs are chasing history, looking for both an undefeated season as well as a three-peat. However, Casey got some bad news out as kicker Harrison Butker was placed on the IR after having knee surgery. The team expects Butker to be back this season, but have not given a timetable for his return. So onsides, offsides, the Chiefs need Butker healthy if they hope to win a third straight Super Bowl.
Absolutely not. All you need is that defense to keep on playing the way that they're capable of, and Patrick Mahomes to show up eventually at some point this season, and Kansas City will be A-OK. They could put any kicker in there, and I get it. It may not be Harrison Butker with how good of a kicker he is, but you could find a way to replace a kicker. So that's not going to prevent the Kansas City Chiefs from going back to back to back. So the Chiefs need Butker healthy if they hope to win a third straight title. Offside.
Offside.
All right, the Rams, they were on a roll, winning 3 straight before last week's loss to the Dolphins on Monday Night Football, which dropped them to 4-5. Now they head to New England to face your Pats and red-hot Drake May. So onsides, offsides, this is a must-win game for the Rams if they want to make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. And the last 2 weeks, even though I did it once on the air and then once privately, I did gamble on the New England Patriots plus the points. This week, I think it's 4.5 in favor of the Rams. I will not be touching the Patriots this week plus the points. I'll be staying away from this game because I don't bet against my own team. I will pick against my own team on the air, but I will not bet against my own team, actually. So this is a must-win for the Rams if they want to make the playoffs. With how tight the NFC West is, probably only one NFC West team getting into the postseason, because Eagles and Commanders, I think, will get in. I also then look at the NFC North, the NFC South, the NFC West clearly giving division winners. So that's 5 spots right there when I factor in the Eagles and Commanders both getting in. So you have 2 spots left. I still think the Lions, assuming the Lions in the division, I still think the Packers and the Vikings are going to get in. So there's 7. So if you don't win the NFC West, you're probably on the outside looking in. You can't afford to fall behind. So this is a must-win game for the Rams. They want to make the playoffs. Yeah, you got to beat this Patriots team, especially with the talent discrepancy. So I will go onsides.
All right, South Carolina is rolling, beating number 10 Texas A&M and a dangerous Vanderbilt team to move up to number 21 in the latest playoff rankings. The Gamecocks have 3 losses, all to ranked teams, including a 3-point loss to LSU and a 2-point loss to Alabama. This weekend, the Gamecocks host number 23 Missouri. So onsides, offsides, South Carolina will make the college football playoffs.
Absolutely not. They are 6-3. I know those games were close. They should have won up against LSU. They got blown out against Ole Miss, and they lost a tough one to Alabama. The second half up against A&M was absolutely awesome. But when you have 3 losses, the only way you are going to go on to make the college football playoff is if you win your conference. And right now, when you look at the SEC, which is crammed together, I think only 6 teams can make the playoffs in the SEC. I'm not saying all 6 will. I only think 4 will. But you got in conference play, Tennessee 5-1, A&M 5-1, Texas 4-1, Georgia 5-2, Ole Miss 4-2, Alabama 4-2, Missouri 3-2, LSU 3-2, and then the Gamecocks are 4-3 in conference. So you're not going to get in this conference championship game in all likelihood. But you could still have a good season. I would think that South Carolina gets the job done this weekend. You know what? When do they? Do you know what time that game? Oh, that's a 4:15 p.m. Eastern time game. I'm going to UFC on Saturday. I got to get the credential early. You know, maybe doing dinner in the city at a sports bar. That could potentially be a little mason jar 10 minutes away from the Garden, which is a South Carolina sports bar. You get that scene. That'd be pretty damn cool. But South Carolina may be cheering on Saturday. That does not mean that they're going to end up making the college football playoff. So that's a quick no for me, dog, even though I gave you a long answer there, but I'll go offside.
Offside. All right, it is finally here after the cancellation and months of waiting. 58-year-old Mike Tyson and 27-year-old Jake Paul face off tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on Netflix. Now, during yesterday's weigh-in, Tyson slapped Paul hard across the face after Paul stepped on his foot, and Paul had this to say.
I didn't even feel it. He's angry. He's an angry little elf. Mike Tyson, I thought that was a cute slap, buddy, but tomorrow you're getting knocked the out. I'm f***ing him up, Ariel. I'm f***ing him up. He hits like a bitch. It's personal now. It's personal now. He must die.
Now, yesterday, UFC star Matt Frivola seemed to be on Team Paul.
Pause. Are you watching this fight tonight, Stu? Honestly.
I was a hard no going into this week.
So was I.
I'm kind of intrigued now, so yeah, I'm probably going to watch it.
Today when I woke up, I thought I was going to watch it. But after hearing Jake Paul and the jackass that he just sounded like, I hope he gets knocked the bleep out. I don't think he will. I think Jake Paul's going to win. But you did feel the slap. We all saw the slow motion of your jaw. And, it's just he's so obnoxious. And you know he's going to win. He's going to have the ultimate trump card. But continue. Ugh, insufferable.
So Matt Frivola had this
I
to
hope
say,
I fall asleep and I don't find a way to watch this fight tonight.
I can't believe it's actually happening. I can't believe that it got sanctioned. But, I mean, I'm holding on to some glimmer of hope, like all of us, that Mike could come in there and just, look like he used to and catch Jake and get an awesome knockout. Of course, I want to see that too. But that's not how the fight game works. That's not how it works. And Jake is in his prime. It looks like he's training the right way. That was one thing I was like, I want to see if Mike Tyson's sparring. Can he still take a hit? I saw a little bit of his sparring footage, so it made me feel a little bit better. But, I mean...
You think Jake's going to win?
Yeah, I think most likely Jake's going to go in there and put a beating on him. Hopefully he doesn't, knock him out, and have it go viral clip. You don't want to see that.
He's sad, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to see that from Mike Tyson. But, hopefully Mike Tyson goes in there and puts a good showing for himself. But Father Time is undefeated.
So onsides, offsides, Jake Paul will win this fight.
Onsides. I think so. And I really hope there aren't people that are even younger than me and they're like, oh, they see Mike Tyson get knocked out today and that's their memory of Mike Tyson. The guy that got knocked out by Jake Paul. That would be just a low moment. But I think, I don't know if he's going to knock him out, but I think Jake's going to win. And I really hope he doesn't. You know what? This fight probably won't even start till 11 p.m. or 12 midnight. I think I'm going to hate watch it. I'm not going to enjoy it. I think I'm just going to hate watch this fight. But I had no interest in this. I think I even said earlier in the week, I just see the Twitter clips. We'll see what happens when it actually rolls around later tonight. But this is one of those things where I guess you got to just cover your eyes and watch this. I think you'll know early how much juice Tyson has. Because I've seen some videos where he looks still like Mike, and then you've seen some videos where you go, this fight should not happen. But I do think, like Matt Frivola does think, that Jake Paul's going to win. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We got another hour to go. Brandon Graham should join us in the next segment. We will hopefully talk to the Eagles defensive end next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, it's usually rare when it's a football Friday and we start the 5 p.m. Eastern time hour off with something that's not football related. Like usually we're talking about something that happened in a Thursday night game or something that we happened, coming up this weekend in the NFL or something college football related. But the fight scene right now usually doesn't get a lot of play. UFC will talk about boxing rarely. Like Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, those fights were awesome. Outside of that, not a lot of times in the last 5 to 10 years where we're talking a lot of boxing. With that being said, though, tonight, it's weird that now we say that this is boxing, but it is the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. Here's my thoughts. It's a gimmick. I think there's nothing to lose for Jake Paul. I actually think it's, as much as I don't like Jake Paul, I think it's brilliant by him. Because if you lose, there's no shame in losing. Even though he's almost 60, you lose to Mike Tyson. But if you win, everyone that hates you, everyone that says you're a joke for what you're doing, you have the ultimate trump card. I don't care how old Mike Tyson is. You still could say, I was one of the few that was able to defeat Mike Tyson. But I see some people talking about, like, this is a reminder. Mike Tyson could remind people how bad he is. Like, I was one of the baddest dudes on the planet. This could impact Mike Tyson's legacy. Like, I don't care if Mike Tyson wins this fight. If he gets knocked out, it would be terrible to see. And I'm saying this as a younger person, unless if you're either younger or you're just an idiot. If anyone's going to hold this against Mike Tyson at nearly 60, you're a damn fool. You're a clown. So those are kind of my thoughts on Mike Tyson going up against Jake Paul. Usually when you have these types of fights, these gimmicks, it's such a low bar that if they give you just a little bit, it usually then gets positive reviews and exceeds expectations. Like Conor McGregor up against Floyd Mayweather, I had zero expectation. Seriously. I thought it was just going to be a joke. An absolute joke. And some may say it was an absolute joke. But that fight was a lot better than what people thought it was going to be. So that's the way that I kind of view tonight. But in the bizarre part here, the actual boxer is not viewed as the favorite. Like when Mayweather fought McGregor, we all knew Mayweather was going to win. Tonight, I think a lot of people believe Jake Paul is going to win, and Jake Paul is the overwhelming favorite. I actually believe the best fight of the weekend is in the UFC, and I'll be in attendance tomorrow evening. So if you want to follow me on my social media, Zach Gelb, Twitter and Instagram, ZACHGELB. I'll try to give you some behind-the-scenes action at UFC 309 at the world's most famous arena, where Trump's going to be in the building, by the way, they said. So that's going to be, I think that's his first public appearance since winning the election, that's going to be a scene at Madison Square Garden. He's always at the UFC events. But John Jones and Stipe Miocic, I'm fascinated by. Because through all John Jones's faults, and I know people like to make fun of Dana White for saying this, but he's the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. Now, like Matt Frivola and Chris Weidman have talked about, you could put a little asterisk on there. There's no doubt about it. It was Weidman yesterday who said, hey, you could look at him like Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire, and be my guest if you want to do that. That's fine. You still got to beat him. And I looked at the odds on this one. I placed the bet on Stipe Miocic. He's plus 425 to win the fight. When you have a fighter that's that good, I know they're going up against John Jones, who's like impossible to defeat. But when you give me a guy that's very damn good in Stipe Miocic at plus 425, I'll take that. And I'll be happy placing, $30-40 down and losing it than what you would have to bet to even make any profit on John Jones. Like, unless you're doing it like by the exact way that John Jones is going to win, I don't think you're going to make a lot of money unless you have these ridiculous amount of funds, which we don't have, when it comes to betting John Jones. So I actually think Stipe Miocic is going to win, or there's going to be some controversial decision. But John Jones has rubbed me the wrong way in the buildup to this fight. And the reason why he's rubbed me the wrong way is Dana White, who's been the biggest defender of John Jones, keeps on calling him the pound-for-pound, the best fighter on the planet. He was on with Rome yesterday, and he's like, if John Jones wants to continue fighting, you got to go fight Tom Aspinall. And John Jones, early in the week, said, Tom Aspinall, he's not worthy of my time. And in the moment, I appreciated this answer from John Jones, and I'm very open about this. I like the UFC. I may present and come off like I know what I'm talking about with the UFC, but I am a late bloomer to the UFC party, where I watched UFC a little bit before COVID, but then during the pandemic, that's when I really became a big fan, and I've been to quite a few UFC fights. This is my third fight at the Garden. I went to one at the Prudential Center. Like, I have become a big fan of the UFC, but I can't, tell you, oh, if this person wins, what does that mean, and all that stuff. Like, I have a friend, Adam, who he knows the UFC better than 99% of the people covering the UFC. And I have had friends that cover the UFC talk to him. He runs circles around them. And they're so impressed with his knowledge. He should be talking about the UFC professionally, but he does something else. But, I've become a fan of the UFC, and I texted my buddy Adam, and I go, that's pretty cool that John Jones said he wouldn't fight Tom Aspinall, and he would go fight Alex Pereira, because I've been to a lot of Pereira fights. I love Pereira. He's my favorite fighter. When we talk about all sports, you're talking about going to pay to see someone. With what Alex Pereira does, I would pay a lot of money to go see Alex Pereira. I would. And it'd be cool to see him keep on going up the weight classes and fight John Jones. But then Adam told me, he's like, hey, he's ducking Tom Aspinall. And then Frivola comes in yesterday, Matt Frivola, and that's a UFC fighter. And he thinks Miocic is going to win. So not that a UFC fighter thinking another guy's going to win is the reason why you bet on him. But when you tell me that Frivola thinks Stipe Miocic is going to win and I can get him at plus 425, yeah, I'm gonna place that bet and be fine. I'll be happy if I end up losing money that way. I'm good with that. But then Frivola yesterday with us also said, hey, I think Tom Aspinall is actually the baddest dude on the planet right now. So those were the words of Matt Frivola yesterday. And that's kind of one of those things where, yeah, even though I originally thought, sure, it would be awesome to see John Jones go up against Alex Pereira, and then how adamant Dana White has been, you need to, if you're John Jones and you win this fight, if he wants to continue and if he wants to fight, you then got to go up against Tom Aspinall. Because that's the fight then that what most people want to see. So it should be a good one coming up at the world's most famous arena. But you got two fights really on the scene where you got this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing tonight. And then tomorrow, UFC 309, not only the return of Michael Chandler, but then you got on the main card for the main event, you do get John Jones going up against Stipe Miocic. So two things to look for in the fight world. And the Philadelphia Eagles last night, they just keep on winning. Philadelphia Eagles have now won 6 games in a row. And they did take care of the Washington Commanders last night in South Philadelphia by a final score of 26-18. And Brandon Graham, he's having some season in what could be his last season in the NFL. But our buddy BG last night had 4 tackles, also had a sack in the game, and 2 tackles for loss. So Brandon Graham, he's doing Brandon Graham things with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 8-2, and he's kind enough to join us right now on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. BG, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been, my man?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Doing good. Just working. You know how it is. We ain't done nothing yet.
So I know you're a team guy. I want you to be selfish here for a season. What you just did last night at the age of 36 was unbelievable. I thought that was your best game of the season. Just talk a little bit about your performance last night and how you're feeling now 11 weeks into the season at the age of 36 and still producing like you're 26.
Well, man, I'm just working, working with the guys, having fun with the young boys. I got their attention as far as like how I work, just what I put into it every day. And then I see what they do. And all I tell them is you got to stay consistent. That's the biggest thing. And I mean, with me being one of the leaders of the team, I don't take that role lightly. And I think it's translating well, man, of like just me showing them boys, every day on how I work, and everybody just want to, emulate that work and make sure they know what they're doing, because it's showing up in a big way. And now I don't even have to say much. You just go out there and just go, and and they carrying me.
You're a natural leader, but this locker room did lose Kelsey, right? They did lose Fletcher Cox as well. Did you feel a little extra pressure to even step up the leadership even more than what it's normally been like for you?
You know what? I was trying to see who would be the guy that I could lean on as far as, like a Lane or somebody that like a Jalen. Me and Jalen got a real good relationship. I mean, just talking with some of the receivers like a Smitty, just try to make sure you got eyes and ears in other places on the goals of what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. And so I think a lot of guys have stepped up in the D-line room, them D tackles, man. You see 98, he stepped up in a big way. He's just maturing as he's going. You got a bunch of tight group in there, JD, all them boys, whoever I, need to, just pump up some days. It's good because, like I told JC them, y'all boys should be commanding big money where they can't keep both of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, we got to put the work in order for that to happen. And so I think once you know what people interests are and what they do this for, then I play on that. So I think it comes with us just bonding together as a team, going out to dinners and doing little stuff off the field, and it's translating in a huge way right now.
The rich tradition that Philadelphia has, especially for defensive linemen. What's the ceiling for a player like Jalen Carter now in year number 2?
Hey, it's on him. This boy could really take over games, man, for years to come. And all this about is just being in shape. You see, he played every snap. I didn't even know he played every snap for the last couple games. It seemed like, and he's just out there, man, just being him, playing. And once he kind of really get it a little more, I think he can play harder. He can definitely play harder than what he's been playing in, and that's what's scary.
Brandon Graham here with us. How about the entirety of this defense, right? There's been some ups, there's been some downs, but it seems like lately you guys have found your groove. And new defensive coordinator, been around a long time, Vic Fangio. Everyone's kind of on the same page right now. How do you reflect 11 weeks in on this defense so far?
Well, having a new coordinator, man, it's always hard to kind of get everything the way you want it. But I think that a lot of guys have worked to get to that point and to know how coach look at the film and what he's looking at and how he's calling the game and what he's expecting in certain moments. And this is why he called this call, because he expecting run here or expecting pass here. Remember, we in a certain zone, they like to do this, they like to do that. I think we had to learn that communication of what he wanted and how he does things. And then it's a chemistry between player to coach to player. And now he knows what his personnel of what he has. And so what he can and what he can't do and what positions he want to put guys in and what positions they can handle and what they can't handle. And so I think that comes with a new coordinator, but I think that we picking it up in a big way, in a fast way, because the first 4 weeks for sure was like preseason. And then we had that bye week. And then now, man, everybody just hitting the ground running because they everything is in, and we kind of know and expect already, how Vic is going to do it and how he runs his meetings. And, that definitely is helping us in a big way.
There's been some changes like we just documented, Brandon Graham. We know this team was 10-1 last year. You guys are 8-2 this year. Why do you feel like it will be different this year compared to how last year ended in the second half?
Well, you know what? The way we was winning last year, it didn't look as good as it's looking now. And that's why I can say that we still haven't even scratched the surface of how good we could really be. You know what I'm saying? And we be having some leaky points in the end, where they had that drive in the end where we couldn't keep them out the zone, and then they get the 2-point conversion. It's like little things that we can control. I feel like we can sharpen up on, because when you got a team like that, you got to make sure you don't give them no hope in those moments. Even though they good, they great players, but in those moments where we up 2 scores, let's not put ourselves in a position where we got to defend an onside kick. On defense, we got to go out there and get a stop. And all 4 downs, we in 4 down territory. And I just think that we gonna keep sharpening up on those little things. But yeah, man, I just know this league is like that, where you're gonna play hard, and you're gonna play. Some teams you blow out, some teams you don't. And even when you think you're gonna blow out a team, they still, like the Panthers, they got some pride about them. And them boys, they could beat anybody on any given Sunday if you let them.
Brandon Graham here with us. I was surprised last night with 8 minutes left. They're down by 2, especially with your defense just did on the 2 plays prior that they elected to test you guys on 4th down and 2. They should have just taken the field goal and go up by 1. What did you kind of think of that in the moment? Were you surprised? I know it ended up working out for you guys.
Yeah, you know what? I was surprised they didn't go. They didn't get the points, because in that moment, they get the points. You don't know what kickoff and all that stuff gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen in that moment of like kicking off the ball. We try to return it. Anything could happen, but they didn't take the points in that. I was happy because JC made a heck of a play on one of our on that run play to get him to like 2nd and 2 or whatever it was, and we just was and me and Zach Bond the next play on 3rd got him to 3rd and whatever, and we stopped them, got them to 4th and 2, and then them boys Zach Bond and that boy Reed, man, I got much respect for them boys because they be out there hunting and running. And, man, on defense, that's all you want. You want people to cover up mistakes by the effort. And I think the effort, man, that's what's been really keeping us good, too, because it's been, it's not perfect. But I think that the guys, it means something to them by them choosing to go out and run to the ball and get to the ball and by any means necessary, get the runner on the ground. And, man, man, I ain't seen a better group, man, right now, man, where we just all playing together and we all took it personally in the beginning of the season on how we started, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
A few more minutes of Brandon Graham after the Eagles got a big victory last night up against the Commanders, 6 in a row for Philadelphia. They're 8-2 through 11 weeks of the season. First time seeing Jaden Daniels in the NFL going up against him. Just what were the impressions of the youngster?
Man, he fast. He seemed confident. I mean, much respect to him. I mean, I know he's a heck of a player. That's one thing. And, some games it's not going to always, look like it. Like yesterday, we just was, I don't know, that was a big game for all of us. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we all we was getting after it yesterday, both sides of the ball. And we end up, pulling it away in the end. But, boy, we know that we got to see them again. And them boys got a good team. And them boys got a good leader in Jaden. And I think that, that just comes with the rookie. Him being a rookie, you're going to have certain games where, you probably want some throws back, or maybe you might have missed a read and then catch a guy that was probably open. It's just so much that you can learn from in failure. So I hope for him, the way he's handling it is like, you know what, I made these mistakes. I'm trying to learn from them, and then, you move on. But I know he's going to be a threat in this league for sure.
How about your quarterback, Brandon Graham? When you look at Jalen Hurts, where's the confidence in him, and what do you think he needs to show people in the second half of this season?
Well, I think Jalen just got to continue to keep being Jalen, and now he's really gaining chemistry with the coordinator, and I think that just even with Kellen, like him and Kellen, this relationship is going to evolve even more, even after this year. But like, to Jalen credit, he's been having to deal with so many different schemes and having to learn real quick, and never really had a lot of time with the same coordinator. Because even if you win one, say if we win one this year, shoot, people gonna be beating down Kellen Dorr. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's tough, because when we lost everybody Super Bowl year, we didn't finish and win it, like to where we have a couple more years where people not panicking. You know what I'm saying? But we lost it. So we lost a lot of coaches on top of we lost the game. Then you got to replace those coaches, and sometimes it's not as easy because of what you had before. It's hard to replace really good coaches when you got them all together, because they're gonna go get different jobs. But I think we got a great staff right now, and man, I just know that it's just way different than what it was last year.
It seems like, from what you're saying, whatever differences there were between the quarterback and the coach of Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, have those been settled? Everyone's all locked in and willing to do whatever it takes to go get a Lombardi back to Philly, right?
Oh yeah. I just think whatever the issues was last year, it definitely is corrected this year, and I just know that we just got so much more growth that's in there for us, and so we just got to make sure we don't get too full of ourselves, and to know that we can always get better. That 1% of what we talk about, and never get too full of yourself, man, because as soon as you do that, that's when you get hit right in the mouth.
It's got to be surreal for you, right, to see what Saquon's doing, and just the fact that he's in an Eagles uniform?
Hey, I'm just shocked that we got him. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, dang, man, I played against this dude, talked stuff about him, all that stuff. And now we playing together. And, I mean, he's having his best year since he's been playing in the league, in my opinion, because, man, I ain't never seen no jump or hurdle the way some of them spin moves out there that he just, even this past game, even though he didn't go but 5-6 yards, but that boy hit a spin move, and Bobby Wagner lost him because he was on his way, and he hit him with a spin move. And boy, I'm just like Saquon, man. He just out there playing the video game. That's how I look at it.
I need you to keep it real with me, BG. I know what you said in the offseason right before the start of the season that this was going to be it for you. The way that you played last night, is that still the goal, that this is it for you after this year, Brandon Graham?
Well, you know what, man? This is what I will say. Let me just get through the year, and then we'll talk about it.
It seems like you're leaving that door open. You know, how he sits you down, it seems like he gets you back for one more year.
Hey, you know what? One thing I know is when I call it quits, it's gone forever. So this is the last level. That's what we talk about. It's the last level you can get to in football. And so for me, I want to make sure that I go out in a big way. Hopefully we hold that trophy. And if we hold that trophy, man, I might have to go out on top like Selly.
Well, that's the thing. I think if you win the Super Bowl, you're definitely going. You're riding off into the sunset. But knowing the way that you're playing right now and knowing who you are, I think you're coming back if you don't win the Super Bowl. I really do believe that.
Hey, well, you know what? If the team want me back, man, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But everything, you know how it is. It's what have you done for me lately? So hopefully I keep it up.
But only in Philadelphia. Is that where you only play? Like, you're not going anywhere else at this stage of your career, right?
At this point, if it don't make sense in Philly, it's a no-go.
Well, he is Brandon Graham. Brandon, hey, I appreciate the time. Congratulations on the performance on Thursday night, and good luck and good health the rest of the way.
I appreciate you. Have a good one. Go Blue.
You got it. There you go. I know you see the Michigan polo that I'm wearing. Of course, Michigan legend Brandon Graham right there. Always appreciate BG when he's able to join us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. This portion of the show is brought to you by Sleeper. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code SCORE when signing up. Must be present in certain states. Visit sleeper.com for details. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product. I look at college football for this weekend, and I am most intrigued by one man and one man only. And that is the head football coach of the Georgia Bulldogs in Kirby Smart. Because you got to remember, going into the year, we looked at Kirby Smart and we said that he was on the verge of becoming the next face of college football. Where Saban's out, Harbaugh is out, 2 out of the last 3 national champions entering this year are Georgia. Georgia only has lost up until the season started 1 game, and that game was to Alabama. So you've only lost to 1 team, and it's been Alabama in the last 2 years. And we looked at Georgia, and you go, okay, even though they lost a lot of talent, they're a talent factory right now, and they just pump out talent all the way. And on paper, heading into this year, they had one of the creme de la creme quarterbacks in Carson Beck. And you look at this team this year, they've struggled to consistently run the football. Carson Beck has been a disaster, and the defense is good, but when your offense can do nothing, the defense can only afford to carry so much weight before there's a straw that breaks the camel's back. And you look at Georgia, they dominate. Like, it was sloppy at halftime, but then they had a dominant victory to start the year up against Clemson, 34-3. All right, you beat Tennessee Tech 48-3. And then that Kentucky game, we didn't know it at the time, but the Kentucky game started to be what Georgia was going to be this year, where Georgia was lucky to win the game. They won the game by 1 point. Mark Stoops, who I like, made a bad decision. He should have elected to go for it. And then after that, you're right, they lose to Alabama, where Bama punches them in the mouth in the first half. They have a nice second half, but then unfortunately you saw Carson Beck throw the interception at the end of the game. All right, you bounce back, you beat Auburn, you beat Mississippi State. You had a nice statement victory up against Texas where your offense wasn't great, but you had a really strong first half, and you were able to hold on in the second half, and that was a defensive performance. You give credit to the defense of Georgia that day. But then after that, it's like Florida, you had to pull away late there. You scored 2 touchdowns at the end to win by 14, and then you go up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss gives you an interception right out of the gate. You get a touchdown, right? You do see Jackson Dart leave the game, then he comes back, but it's one of those situations where you end up losing the game, and not only did you lose to Ole Miss was clearly the better team. So now you're sitting here, you're Georgia. You got 2 losses. No one in a million years would have ever thought that there was a legitimate chance that Georgia was going to miss the playoff before the year started. If you wanted to tell me someone else was going to win the SEC, like, oh, maybe Kalen DeBoer in year 1 is going to win the SEC at Alabama, okay, I could listen to that. You know, maybe Sark with Texas and the team that they have, they're going to win the SEC. Okay, I could believe that. But no one thought that there was a legitimate chance before the season started. You know, up until last week, and I predicted that Ole Miss was going to win. But it didn't even go through my mind until after the game that there's a legitimate chance that Georgia could miss the college football playoff. You know, if they didn't win the SEC this year, you would have thought, okay, they'd be the first team out. They'd be the 5th seed or maybe even the 6th seed in the college football playoff bracket. But their next loss, their season's over. Because either they make the playoff and then they lose in the playoff and it's over, or if they lose one of these next 3 games, and they're not going to lose to UMass, Georgia Tech, they had a nice victory last week. Georgia Tech's been a solid football team this year, but I don't think that Georgia Tech's going to beat Georgia. But you look at this Tennessee game, this is the season's on the line. You lose this game, you donezo. You win this game, all right, it's been sloppy, it's been ugly, but no one has really asserted themselves in college football this year. I get it. Oregon's undefeated. Oregon looks like they're the team to beat, but they're not a mortal lock to go win the national championship. Ohio State, they lost to Oregon. Ohio State struggles in big games. I know they beat Penn State, but they lost to Oregon earlier in the year. And you look at everybody else. All right, Texas lost to Georgia. Georgia has 2 losses. Alabama restored confidence after beating LSU. You're not trusting whoever comes out of the ACC. Whoever wins the Big 12, maybe they could win 1 playoff game, but I don't think they're going on to win a national championship. This is open right now. So even though it looks gloomy right now for Georgia, they get a victory this weekend, which you have to win. Every game the rest of the way is a playoff game for Georgia. And you win these next 3 games, you'll be in the college football playoff. But this is the big test. And I want to see how Kirby Smart responds, because it's such a bad look for Kirby, even though he has 2 national championships. But we have seen teams have a moment, but you look at what Bama did, there was just a level of dominance where they were a dynasty for 15-something years. But you've seen other teams have moments, like Michigan had a moment. Clemson had some moments. Ohio State had a moment. Georgia's having their moments right now. But are you going to be able to have a dynastic run? And people thought Georgia could be the next dynasty. They still can. But it's a really bad look for Kirby Smart, who's still a phenomenal coach. But it's a really bad look for him with now Saban out of the sport, Harbaugh out of the sport. You are supposed to be the team, and there's not a lot of the teams this year. There are a lot of teams that you look at and you go, oh, they're the team. And you squander away this opportunity where up against Bama you lose, up against Ole Miss you lose, and you're lucky you beat Kentucky, because then your season would have already been over. And now you're going up against Tennessee, where even if Nico Iamaleava plays, we don't know what to expect out of him until he's a freshman. And if he doesn't play, there's no excuses here. Now, Tennessee's defense will cause problems for Carson Beck. Tennessee's defense is the strength of that team, which we didn't think was going to be the case before this year. But I don't want to hear it. There's no excuses. Absolutely no excuses this weekend for Kirby Smart. And that's why when I look at all the teams around the country, if you tell me, Zach, you get to watch one game this weekend, obviously you're watching Georgia, Tennessee. But if I could just watch one person, he's not even playing. It's Kirby Smart. I am fascinated to see how we're talking about Kirby Smart on Sunday for Sunday Morning Football, and then on Monday when we get back into this time slot for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A lot of pressure. Lots and lots and lots of pressure on Kirby Smart this weekend, and we'll see how he responds. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get the latest update in with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by PXG Golf. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/football and use code football. The Bills have been banged up this week and will be without tight end Dalton Kincaid because of a knee injury. Amari Cooper remains questionable for Sunday. T. Higgins will be back for the Bengals when they meet the Chargers. He's been out the last 3 games with a hamstring injury. The Jaguars' Trevor Lawrence will miss Sunday's game against the Lions due to an injured left shoulder, and a bad shoulder will sideline Detroit tight end Sam Laporta. Seahawks starting center Connor Williams has decided to retire at the age of 27. The Cavaliers are more than halfway to matching the Warriors' start in 2015 when they won 24 straight to open the season. Cleveland's winning streak is currently at 13. Next up will be the Bulls tonight. Also, Denver, a much more modest streak at 5 games as they look to extend it in New Orleans. The Thunder lead the West currently at 10-2 and will host the Suns. Right behind them at 9-3. The Warriors are in between those two at 9-2. They take on the Grizzlies at home. And second-ranked Alabama gets a nice early season test with the Crimson Tide on the road at number 13, Purdue. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
Alrighty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's go to Bella B in Calgary. She always has great questions for us. Hi, Zach. Who was your celebrity crush growing up? Thanks, Bella B in Calgary. Hashtag Ask the Pros at INF Sportsnet. You can submit a question, just like Bella B in Calgary did, by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. My celebrity crush was Beyonce. Beyonce and Carmen Electra. I think I've said this like numerous times on this show, but if I had to pick one, Beyonce. And I don't know about you, Stu, and this is not me getting political, but anytime you mention someone involved in politics, people assume you take one side or another. I'm not a big politics guy, if I'm being honest. But Trump talking about Beyonce, I saw the video of it, and now I can't get it out of my head. And they've made it into a song because Beyonce did endorse the vice president, Kamala Harris. And then Trump talked about it. And he's like, dance party with Beyonce. And they've made it into a remix where all I hear is Kamala's at a dance party with Beyonce, 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 just over and over and over again. There is not a day that goes by on whatever my algorithms are on Reels where I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and at one point I have Trump pop up and go, dance party with Beyonce, Beyonce, Beyonce. And it's almost like ruining my love for Beyonce, because now anytime nothing to do with Trump, but anytime I think now of Beyonce, I don't just say, oh, Beyonce. I say, Beyonce, just over and over and over again. You've seen that video.
I have way, way too many times like yourself, yes.
Who was your celebrity crush, by the way, growing up?
Easy, Mila Kunis.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Look at that, Stu. A little crush on Mila Kunis. How about that? How about that? You ever meet her?
No.
I met Beyonce once.
That's right. Yeah.
Kind of met Beyonce. I have a picture-ish with Beyonce. The closest they'll probably ever let me around her, if I'm being honest. She was at the Super Bowl, and they used to bring the Super Bowl act to Radio Row. Like, they do the press conference, and then they would bring the Super Bowl act to, it was actually the NFL Network, two people doing the interview. Rich Eisen, Prime, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. And here I am. Super Bowl was in New Orleans. I was in college. I was a pioneer on Radio Row. I didn't invent Radio Row. But all these college kids now get on Radio Row. You can thank me. Okay? I was a college broadcaster on Radio Row. And I'm interviewing Dick Vermeil. And he's promoting his wine. And the whole room is like rushing over to us. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. College kid. Everyone's trying to see my radio show. Dick Vermeil. Everyone's big on Dick Vermeil and his wine. And everyone's just running over. And it was because Beyonce was getting ready to walk into the room. And I kind of realized that something big was happening. And I was done with the interview pretty much with Dick Vermeil. And as I'm wrapping up the interview and he's promoting his wine, Beyonce walks right past us with the security. And it was like the Pope was in the building. It was as if the Queen was in the building. Well, she is the Queen Bee, but she walked in and there's a shot. I don't know why. I put like the microphone, Stu. I was holding it because our mic stand was broken, low budget operation. I was holding like the microphone in between two fingers. Like not just holding it regularly, like in between two fingers. And my hand was like, it was just weird. And you see this photo, me talking to Dick Vermeil with the bottle of wine, and Beyonce is right in the background. And thankfully, our camera picked up Beyonce. She was right behind me. And then she walks up to the NFL Network set. And I've told this story before. I stand up after I wrap up my interview with Dick Vermeil. The whole Radio Row stopped. And it is my father who was there for the trip. J.J. Watt. Like, that's how big of a deal it was. Beyonce was in the building. Beyonce. Dance party with Beyonce. And myself. And then all these other people. The guy that's on Fox. Rick Bucher was there. He was doing a show in San Francisco at the time. Like, every show stopped. During commercial break, ran over to see Beyonce. And J.J. Watt turns to my father. I'll never forget this. And my dad just goes, oh, like he knows who J.J. Watt is. J.J. Watt doesn't know my dad, and my dad doesn't know J.J. They're not friends or anything. But my dad's just a schmoozer. And he goes, J.J., Beyonce, pretty cool. And J.J. Watt looks at my father. He goes, and her backside was to us. And also, we saw Prime was to the back of us, and Rich Eisen, all their backsides were to us. So it did not just be for Beyonce. You can interpret it however you want. And J.J. Watt goes, yep, and we got the best seat in the house. And that was pretty much the line by J.J. Watt, which I thought was an awesome line. So that was my one moment where I kind of met Beyonce. I'm telling you, I could never hear the name Beyonce ever again, Stu, without thinking of the Donald Trump video.
It's going to take a while at least.
She's at a dance party with Beyonce. It's going to be like in my dreams. I've probably dreamt about Beyonce before, if I'm being honest. But I'm going to wake up and it's going to be Beyonce. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So if you can't tell, my celebrity crush growing up was Beyonce. Do you have a celebrity crush now? Just wondering. And I know you have a girlfriend.
Yes.
I understand that. If the girlfriend gives you a hall pass, is there like a celebrity crush right now?
Yeah, I like Selena Gomez.
Okay.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. She's dating,
Oh, what's his name?
Benny Blanco?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I don't think this was true. I think this was a joke. Was he voted the sexiest man alive? Yeah, no, that's real. Nothing against Benny Blanco. Sexiest man alive still? Selena Gomez, this is the title, had the sweetest reaction to Benny Blanco's sexiest man alive on her. He's not the sexiest man alive on the planet. Benny Blanco, nothing against him. Didn't Jason Kelsey win this last year or something like that? So, maybe us bigger guys now can win sexiest man. You know what? I'm starting the campaign. Zach Gelb, sexiest man alive. I could see it. maybe in like 20 for never. Okay? Like, that's just not going to happen. So, Benny Blanco has been voted, I don't know where, but he's been voted the sexiest man alive. Now, hold on. There's a next article that did factor in that I thought that this was a joke. It said, let's be clear from the top. Blanco 36 has not been crowned by people as the sexiest man alive on the planet. I'm not even sure his girlfriend, Selena Gomez, would go that far. What kind of article is this?
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was a fake tweet.
I think so, because I'm looking at all the. I have a list of all of them here, and this year's was John Krasinski from The Office.
Okay, gotcha. So that was how I originally thought it was fake with this.
Yeah, Patrick Dempsey in 2023, Chris Evans before that.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to read right here. Yeah, so one of these articles, I guess, did run with it. So when I saw that the other day, I'm like, that can't be true. So I guess I had faith restored in the validity of the sexiest man alive competition since it was not Benny Blanco. If that was the case, Stu, we could start maybe the case for you to win sexiest man alive.
I know, right?
Sexy Stu. It flows right off the tip of the
does.
tongue. Angie would agree probably as well. There you go. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Real quickly, I love what BG Brandon Graham had to say about Saquon Barkley. Like, he still can't believe that he's on their team after going up against him all those years. But I did think what DA said earlier, he's right, and it's been my belief. The Giants are right in saying we will let Saquon Barkley walk. It was just so unfortunate for them that he ended up walking to Philadelphia. Because that's if he went to Dallas, the Cowboys still aren't winning anything. You know, if he was with the Commanders, it would be phenomenal with what the Commanders are now doing with Jaden Daniels, but they're not going to go win a Super Bowl. Like, the Eagles have a legitimate chance to go win a Super Bowl this year. And you go to a fan base that is extremely passionate in the Philadelphia Eagles, where they're just rubbing it in your face. Like, last night, they're chanting, "Thank you, Giants." So that's why it's a tough pill to swallow. It's not letting him to leave, because I understand they were going nowhere. And Saquon was good in New York, but he wasn't great. But you needed to use those resources somewhere else. However, the problem is he went to Philly. So, both could be true. Eagles fans are right to throw it in your face. But the Giants brass didn't make the wrong decision. It was just unfortunate where he ended up going. All right, that will do it on a Football Friday, as it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You catch me tomorrow morning on WFAN in New York locally from 9 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Real quick Saturday sesh. And then I'm back on Sunday right here on the Infinity Sports Network from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. First hour is all things college football for Sunday morning football. And then the second hour of that extravaganza, we do all things NFL and get you set for the rest of the Week 11 games in the National Football League. And then we'll be all back together as one big happy family on Monday, right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Big thanks to Damon Amendolara for stopping by today for some NFL picks. Big thanks to Brandon Graham from the Philadelphia Eagles for joining us as well. Hope you have a good weekend. I think Jake Paul wins tonight. I'm rooting for Mike Tyson, but I think Jake Paul is going to win. And I'll do a plus 425 bet, on the odds, plus 425 on Stipe Miocic to somehow defeat John Jones tomorrow at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Stu Samter, each and every one of you, thanks so much for joining us. We will talk to you Monday, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.